Hello, people, and welcome to Tema Talks, brought to you by the Tema Contra Memorial Trust, Canada's leading provider of peer support, family assistance, education, and training for our emergency services, public safety, military personnel, and their families. For more information, check out tema.ca. Also, it's important for you to know that the views, opinions, and endorsements expressed in each podcast episode are mine and my guests alone, and do not necessarily reflect the official position of the Tema Contra Memorial Trust. There, that's out of the way. How you guys all doing? I'm doing pretty good. I'm getting by. I hope you are too. As always, here is your trigger warning. You're going to hear some tough conversations in this episode, as always. So if you are someone who has trouble with triggers, make sure that you get yourself in a good mind space to listen to this episode so that you can get the most out of it. My guest this episode is the awesome Callie Power. You may know her through her Facebook peer support page, Callie's Corner. I really enjoyed talking to Callie. She's a very special human being doing good work. I hope that you enjoy this chat as much as I did. Let's get to it.
It was a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in.
All right, at this time, it is my pleasure to welcome to Tema Talks, Callie Power. How you doing, Callie?
Great, Sean. How are you?
I am good. Thanks for joining me from Alberta. It's been I've been wanting to have you on the podcast for a while, so I'm glad we're finally getting it done.
Well, I want to thank you, Sean, for having me. It means a lot to me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You're doing great work. So for those of us who don't know you very well, tell us a little bit about your origin story, how you grew up, and what got you involved in EMS.
Well, Sean, I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta. I lived there till I was about 11 years old. I came from a family of two boys and two girls, the older sister and two older brothers, and I took up the bottom of the ranks as the youngest girl, and then we moved to Spruce Grove, Alberta, where I've taken up the rest of my residency. For the most part, I lived in Banff, Alberta for about 4 years, and I loved what I nickname as God's country.
Yeah.
And while I lived in Banff, I actually drove taxi cab for a year, and
wow.
That set me up for ironically having the right license for getting into the ambulance industry. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, I had this passion when I was in Air Cadets for getting into helping people by taking first aid through the Air Cadet Squadron here in Stony Plain, Alberta. And through that passion of learning first aid, I never forgot what it was like to, just something as simple as learning to put on slings and splints. And when I was 22, I left Banff and I got into my EMT training after leaving Banff, graduated at the age of 23 years old, and ironically, on my birthday, I got my first job.
Wow.
On my 23rd birthday. So my birthday cake had a little ambulance on it from my family, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Without putting numbers together, okay, I'll admit that I'm 53 years old now and still am in EMS.
Good for you.
So it's been great. I was an EMT for about 4 years and then stayed in EMT through my 2 years of paramedic training that I took through NATE here in Edmonton.
Right.
Back in 1992, I graduated.
Awesome. And and how did you find it? Once you get into it as a young 23-year-old, how long did it take you before you realized that it wasn't just as simple as showing up to work?
Oh, boy. I would say in the first couple of years, because I think everybody can identify with that in the first year, you're scared to death. In the first year or two, you're still learning to get your feet underneath of you and survive.
Right.
You're still learning even how to say no to extra shifts. We're so worried about putting our best foot forward and trying to make good impressions on our employers. And probably in the third and fourth year, I started to realize that I wanted to give extra. I wanted to try and, I don't know, be a bit of a leader with our crew in trying to make us better. So I started doing extra training in the ambulance station with our crews, and so we started doing that. So it really became a passion at that point, because I started seeing that I didn't just have to show up at work. I could actually make the job into what I wanted it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And at what point in time, if any, did you start to realize the emotional toll of this job?
Oh, probably into my third or fourth year, we had a patient who went into cardiac arrest, and I had already been accepted into paramedic school. And because I do wear my heart on my sleeve, it was really at that point when that paramedic went into cardiac arrest in front of me that the emotional toll in that moment, even though I do believe in a higher power and I knew that their fate was sealed in that moment, I thought, man, if only I was a paramedic, maybe I could have made a bit more of a difference. And that was a very distinct moment for me.
How did you handle that? How did you deal with that thought, and what did that motivate you to do?
It motivated me very strongly and solidified my thoughts that I had to become a paramedic. I was more motivated than ever to get my advanced life support training.
Right.
And I handled it by going back to the station, and I had crew that were very good friends of mine and family. My mom is my best friend, and I didn't necessarily tell her what had happened, but she knew by the hugs that I gave her at the end of a tour whether or not I had a hard tour or not. So between the crew and my family, they were good, strong support systems.
No, that's great. And I mean, at what point did you have to sort of work into your day or make sure you had a routine of self-care for taking care of yourself emotionally, not just physically?
I think that maybe I didn't realize that as well as I may have should have. Back in 1986, when I graduated, self-care and our knowledge about PTSD and resiliency was not nearly in the forefront like it is now. So I think we're raising better EMTs and primary care paramedics and advanced care paramedics now.
Yeah.
Back in our generation, it was suck it up.
Yeah, it's true.
So, thankfully I had some crew that were really good friends and still are today, 30 years later. And so I would hazard to say, Sean, that probably 20 years into my career, I started to get better at the self-care.
I would say that you're not unique in that. I think that probably a lot of your generation medics and even my generation medics would probably say the same thing. Yep.
Like I say, my family, my mom especially, was fantastic with me. My crew, I call them my crew. I wasn't their supervisor, but they were certainly good friends. I took my stresses out in training. It was always about being better. We had to be better. If we did a call that I thought we could be better, that's how I poured my stresses out, was, okay, let's be better for the next one.
Yeah, for sure. Now, most of us, and as well as me, know you because you are the face and founder of Callie's Corner Facebook peer support page. Tell us how that came about and why you started that and what your motivation was behind that.
Well, this is a bit emotional for me. The name actually came from my brother who is passed away. He passed away from brain cancer. There was one day that my vehicle going quite slowly on a very ice-covered road. My tires went over the edge, and long story short, Glenn had to come and pull me out. And he said, "We're going to have to nickname that corner Callie's Corner." Yeah. But it came about as a result of, we had an Edmonton paramedic by the name of Greg Turner, who died by suicide on the job here in Edmonton in January of 2015. That rattled our Edmonton community to the core. I personally did not know Greg. I may have passed him in a hallway in an Edmonton hospital, but I was very good friends with some of the people that did know him, and I did attend Greg's funeral out of honor and respect for him and our comrades. When I went to that funeral, some of my friends were standing on the chapel steps, and I heard them say, "Callie's here." Well, of course, Callie's going to be here. And one of them said, "Callie, what are we going to do? Nobody's helping us." And I walked away that day, and I said to myself, I got to do something. And it took about a year to come up with something, because I couldn't stand there and do nothing. I couldn't let Greg's death and possibly the death of more of our friends be in vain.
Right.
So I sat on my couch and I created a logo with a mountain in it to resemble the Rocky Mountains of Alberta. I put a killer whale in it, resembling my mom's maiden name of whale, and plus it resembles the strength of a whale trying to breach the water, which is the grip of PTSD.
Yeah.
And little did I know that 21 days after I launched this Facebook page, that I would have a major incident that would change me forever. And it was I'm just going to call it an incident, which resulted in a traumatic brain injury and a diagnosis of PTSD myself.
Wow. So you started a peer support group when you weren't diagnosed and then got diagnosed after that.
21 days later.
Huh. Wow.
So the triggering event happened, and then 6 months later they had diagnosed me with post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah. So the traumatic brain injury was diagnosed immediately, fairly immediately.
Right.
And then the diagnosis of PTSD was officially made. They were pretty sure that I had it right away, but the official diagnosis came months later.
Now, how did that affect your capability or your ability to keep managing this peer support group page? How did that factor in?
Well, with the traumatic brain injury, I actually was quite messed up, to say the least. If you spoke to any of my friends that were around me and my family, they didn't know how to handle me. It caused quite a disruption within my family. The doctors almost put me in the hospital. I was actually hospitalized once for a week. I had I think 5 ambulance trips as a result of the anxiety from the PTSD. I had there was quite the falling out. So with the page, I was off work for 14 months,
right,
recovering from the traumatic brain injury and the symptoms of the PTSD. So the page then really became stagnant. I couldn't be on it.
Yeah.
So the people actually that were on the page were the people keeping it going. God bless them.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So after the 14-month period, and I even said to my psychiatrist, after the 14 months, this page is helping me. I didn't have the physical ability to even be on a computer, let alone to even manage a page. So for the longest time, I hadn't the physical capacity to be on it.
Yeah.
Once I was closer to that 14-month period, and after that, then I could be on it.
Okay.
So it was more for, the blue light was not good for me, so I wasn't on it. Even watching television, it was kind of the half-hour rule of, you can watch television for a half hour and then take time away from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very inactive for a long time with my presence on it, but because of the people already on it, they kept it going.
How has it done, the page, as far as what were your expectations going into it when you started it versus where it is now? How are you feeling about it?
Honestly, Sean, when I built it, I thought if I could help one person.
Yeah, that's exactly what I say too.
There's a phrase that says that to succeed is to make one life breathe easier. Well, then this page is beyond my expectations. We've got about 1,020 people on the page now, and
wow, that's awesome.
I don't add people to the page. Like there are some pages that they will add members to their pages. I don't do that. All people that are there by their own volition.
Right.
So we've heard feedback from the people that are there. I've had people say, Callie, you've saved my life. Yeah. Well, it's, the posts that we share, the podcasts that we share of yours, Peter Tripp.
Yeah, Pete.
We share his as well. So it's really a community effort. Natalie Harris is very inspiring for me too.
She's awesome.
So it's really a community effort that we share on the page. So it's superseded by far my expectations of what we've managed to do. And every day that I log on and I see the people interacting there, it's a blessing. It really is.
You just gave a good example of the growth that I've seen. When I started this podcast and I had guests on, it would be rare that one guest would know of another guest, you know what I mean? Because of distance, and it just wasn't there yet. But now, I have you on, and you're mentioning Natalie Harris and Peter Tripp. We really are starting to get a national group, a national family that people know they can go to for support.
Yep.
And I think that's great. I mean, that's the point.
Well, I had, there's one fella on our page. He's a paramedic. He's retired now. He's doing real estate, and he messaged me and he says, Callie, you have inspired me. You have taught me that all it takes is one person to make a difference. And he has stepped forward and he's sponsored us. And it just blows my mind how many people are stepping out of the woodwork to help us. But it takes one willing soul.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
One vessel to be willing to unite people to do the work. And it's amazing, because some people don't know where to start. I didn't know where to start.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think any of us did.
Well, we don't. And then we watch other people and what they're doing, and we don't want to necessarily duplicate it.
Yeah.
But people are stepping up for us, and we come up with different avenues. We're putting on a ranch group this summer, and it's really, this summer we're keeping it small, and it's by invitation only, and other fundraising ideas that we have coming up. And so, yeah.
Callie, you mentioned, your incident, and just before I move on, I just want to ask, how are you doing now?
I still live with 24-hour-a-day headaches. I did try to return to work. Unfortunately, sometimes working for a private operator, it doesn't give us the ability to do reintegration. So when I went back to work, it was all or nothing.
Right.
And you know us, right? We're paramedics. We're strong people. We can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I went back to work and realized I can't do it. There was too many triggers, so I am off work again.
Yeah.
So we're just in the process now of furthering the treatment. My spirits are good. The headaches, they haven't stopped since the 22nd of January of 2016, but it's the chronic pain of dealing with that. And physically, the rest of me isn't too bad. My spirits are good. As far as the PTSD goes, still I have moments, where I have to watch where I go and the noise factors and things like that.
Yeah.
As many people deal with noise triggers and visual triggers. And even today I had a moment with somebody that, and I won't name names. I don't even know if I know this guy's name, but he just didn't get it. And it's amazing how people, even in our industry, still don't get it. And very professionally, I said, sir, we are trying to educate people about PTSD and decrease the stigma that's out there. And
yeah, there's still a lot of work to do, Callie.
Yep, there is.
I know, obviously, doing paramedics as well as other first responders, their work is important. But what I would say to you is that you are doing more important work now. You've moved on. The work that you're doing now is the work that we need you to do.
Well, it's funny, Sean. I threw a prayer up the day that I launched Callie's Corner. I said, Lord, just give me a year. And then the incident happened, and I was off for 14 months. And I kind of looked up north, and I said, you got a weird way of answering prayer there, dude.
Yeah.
But
be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, but I also kind of look at it as a blessing that I truly now know what PTSD feels like. I can truly then sit with my comrades in the dark and say, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And even though I don't think that is necessary, I don't think it's necessary for you to help people, but I think it does make a huge difference.
Yeah, it does.
I can't deny that.
Yeah, and I agree. You do not have to get PTSD to help people.
Absolutely
not at all. We have some administrators on our page. We have Marge and Ryan. Marge is a fire chief, and Ryan is with CN Police, and they have been phenomenal on our page. We have moderators as well that are firefighters and EMS people, dispatchers as well.
I know you have my buddy Doug. From Brooklyn.
Doug is great. Yeah,
Doug's
Doug
awesome.
And Justine from Nova Scotia. We have Tanis and Kristen, and they've been phenomenal as well. So we have people representing different first responder groups, which is key.
Yeah. Because
I don't understand a dispatcher's job.
Right.
That's the last job in the world I would want.
Yeah.
But, and some of them do not have PTSD and some may have it. So we need those that don't have it, because sometimes some of our people on our page may rise my anxiety, and I might say, Marge, you're up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because,
and that's great to have that
and we
ability to do
need that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
we need that.
Callie, if people are listening and they want to help out Callie's Corner, how can they do that?
Well, right now, the main venue that we have is that we have bracelets that we've made that say Callie's Corner on it. We've had a lot of nice compliments on them. So with $7 donations, people can e-transfer us the $7 donation to lovetolive1964@gmail.com. And then just private message us your address and we'll send those out to you. If you live locally, maybe I'll even grab a coffee, buy you a cup of coffee, and we'll have a chat, and I can just hand deliver them to you.
People have to pay
we
more
are,
for that, Callie. They're going to have to donate
yeah.
more than $7 for an in-person.
Well, and some people have, by blessings, yeah, some people have actually given us more. We've also actually had some PTSD socks made. They're navy blue socks that say, let's talk PTSD, never give up.
Right.
We are getting some more of those made because we sold out in the first week.
Oh, awesome.
So we are getting more of those made. So I'll just ask people to hold off on any more orders for those.
Yeah.
So that's the main fundraising that we're doing right now is with those bracelets.
Awesome. Now, if people want to find you on social media to connect, where can they find you?
They can find us at Callie's Corner on Facebook. We do have a Twitter account as well under
nice.
Callie's Corner. It's not nearly as active as what the Facebook page is, so I would probably direct most people to Callie's Corner on Facebook.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, and I would encourage anybody listening who hasn't done so already to check that out. It's awesome stuff. It's good stuff. Callie, I'm going to ask you now, if there's someone listening to this right now who is struggling, what would your message to them be?
Do not be quiet. Find a friend, talk to a coworker, talk to your employer. If you are struggling, do not do it alone, because you aren't alone. There are people around you who understand. And for those that may not understand, we will understand you here on Callie's Corner. But find someone at work, someone anywhere in your family or at work, and let them know that you're struggling, because there are resources that can help you. You do not have to do this alone.
Thank you for that, sister. That was great. Callie, this has been awesome. It's been really cool to get to know your story and get to know the person behind Callie's Corner. Again, thank you for taking the time. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Sean. I really appreciate this time. And you keep up the great work, buddy. I love what you're doing.
Oh, we will. We have lots of work to do. Take care of you and yours.
Take care, hon.
All right.
Now my shift is finally over. I gotta deal with what's mine.
All right. How awesome was that? I know. It was awesome. I loved it. That does it for another episode of Tema Talks. Thank you for listening. A couple housekeeping items. As you may have seen in the video that I just posted, we need your help to grow this podcast and to grow our community of mental health advocates in order to continue the work needed to destroy the stigma around mental illness and specifically how it affects first responders. You can do that a bunch of ways. You choose. Hopefully all of them. Along with listening to the podcast, we would love it if you would share the podcast. Also, if you could leave some feedback and comment on each episode. If you could rate the podcast, if that's available on however you listen to it, as well as subscribe to the podcast on whatever program or medium that you use. That would be awesome. And I thank you in advance for doing that. With that, we're going to have our first contest. The Tema Talks Facebook page is at about 741 likes right now. I'd like to get it to 1,000, so here's what I'm going to do. If we can get the Facebook page, or when we get, not if, when we get the Facebook page to 1,000 likes, we are going to do a random draw with all 1,000 people, and we're going to give away 5 Tema swag bags. Little packages of awesomeness. Should be great. And just in case you're wondering, we're going to do the random draw through a program called random.org, which will take all of your names and will randomly choose 5. No worries. Totally legit random draw. So, if you already like the Facebook page, you're still in on this. So share it as much as you can and try to get as many likes as you can on that page. And once we get to 1,000, we'll do that draw. 5 Tema swag bags will be going out. Awesome. I will post a video in about 2 weeks or so, or a little bit less than 2 weeks, telling you who the next guest is for episode 3. And until then, take care of yourself and each other. More love, less judgment.
'Cause we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference and the first on every scene. And it's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this hurting when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sides